This is great, and we are live at the Sports Crew podcast with my guest Matthew. What's up?
How you guys doing? It was good to be back here.
Great, yeah. So it's October, playoff baseball, man. I know usually people say that the regular season doesn't matter until you see what happens in the playoffs, but how would you evaluate the season so far? With obviously we know Judge hit 62 finally, and Yankees not being a wild card team, even though they didn't get the 100 win. What do you say on the season so far?
Well, I mean, first off, it was good that Judge hit 62. Both of our predictions were way off. You said what, like 66? I said 65.
65,
I said 66. Yeah, he did not do that. The pressure got to him. But all right, for the most part, I think it was a successful season. Obviously, you'd like to got 100 wins, but that just didn't happen. But you won your division. That was the first step.
Big goal.
I think, a lot of Yankee fans, we were concerned in August. I would say if you break it, you kind of have to break it down into like three parts of the season. You had the first part where everything was cooking, everything was going well.
Pre All-Star break.
Yeah, we were, we were one of the best teams in the league. I still think, the Dodgers had a slow start. They're still probably the best, but you could argue we were the best or the second best team pretty easily. And then August happened, a bunch of injuries there. You can't really predict that. And I think that really derailed the team there. That definitely did not help them. They played some of the worst. They were one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in baseball that month. And then it made all of us fans, kind of wonder if the first half was a fluke or if this in August was the real team or if it was reversed. So I think it's good that they got healthy again. They got the guys back and then they started winning again. And I think that shows that just August was an outlier of this team, and that was not the real Yankees. That's the Scranton Yankees coming up there to play for a couple weeks. And it just didn't really work out. I was thinking this morning, I think if you really look at that stretch, the Yankees were blessed with their schedule not to have to play too many teams in the AL East, because I think if they play a lot of teams in the AL East during that stretch, their division leads they don't clinch it as early as they did. I think it gets a lot closer because that was just one of the worst stretches of baseball I think me and you have seen from this team in a while.
Yeah, that was definitely the worst collapse by far. If you look at it, if they didn't have a bad August, they probably would have had at least the best record in the AL.
Yeah, they would have had at least probably
MLB,
105, 100. Definitely more wins than the Astros do. I think if they put that together, probably right up there with. I mean, you're realistically, you're right up there with the Dodgers, because with the Dodgers in the second half was a little bit similar to what the Yankees did in the first half. It kind of went, insane. So I think if you take out that August there, I'm sure if you take out that stretch for the Yankees for every team too, I'm sure then they're still probably one of the top, if not number one in wins.
If they're not, number one in the MLB, they definitely would be at least, probably number one in AL.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy that Judge hit 62. It took him a while. I did expect more, but it is what it is. The only frustration I had with, I don't want to say the season, more what happened with Judge was the batting title. I did want him to get Triple Crown, but of course you've seen the Twins player Luis. He kept sitting out, and that definitely played a factor. But
yeah, and I also think it was tough for Judge to win the Triple Crown because there was not the Yankees when they've played a lot of these teams. Some of these teams were trying to be a wild card team and fighting for the playoffs. So I was actually more surprised that the Blue Jays actually pitched to him kind of a little bit. I mean, I know they did walk him the first 2 games, but that last game when he hit that home run, they really did pitch to him right there. I was a little disappointed in the Orioles. I felt that they weren't going anywhere and they pitched to him very timidly. Like it didn't really matter for them. That's why I, took back cap to the Rangers, all their pitchers, even the first and second game, first 2 games before you hit the third, they were really pitching to him. They were giving him pitches. I will say though, against the Orioles, I do think he had about 3 or 4 pitches to crush for a home run, and he just completely pulled off on them. I think the pressure was getting to him, and you could definitely see his swing was different. He was opening up, trying to pull that baseball, and he probably should have been trying to hit that right center short porch out there. It would have definitely probably been a lot easier, but it was definitely good there. I think we talked about it last week too, along with the season. I think the trade deadline, you can't really predict the injuries, but I think it was so for most part a success. I mean, yeah, you would have liked more from Frankie Montas out there, but it just didn't happen. But that's the good thing with the Yankees is they do have enough depth in their starting pitching to make up for that. I also think I'm excited more for Frankie next season. I want to see what he's going to be like with a full year here. I know he had a shoulder injury before he came here. It seems like it came back again. Obviously, it was a disappointment, but, you never know. As long as, now that the playoffs are here, everybody has a 0 stat line. So you go out there and produce, and I think the Yankees fans will like you.
No, definitely, for sure. And speaking about everything being 0, we got to talk about the game one starter as well as game one lineup. Who's your starter for game one, and what's your ideal lineup for game one?
Okay. Ideally, it would be Nestor or Severino. It's not going to happen. They're probably going to start Garrett Cole.
I
And
actually think that it might slight chance just be Nestor, just because I know. Did you see the interview yesterday?
I did
for
see the
Aaron
interview
Boone?
with Boone. Yeah,
He was
he was not.
very
Yeah, he was a little
second-guessing.
shaky on it. He was a little second guessing. I still think they go with their gun, the guy that they paid for. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you start Nestor and Nestor implodes, then it's going to be, you pay this guy $300 million. If Garrett Cole starts and he implodes, it's going to be it's a lose-lose situation either way. Nestor's been your rock, but I think they go with Cole. You paid him for this. This is what he's supposed to do here in New York. It's also the playoffs. Like I said, everybody's now got a 0 ERA. Now it's going to be what are you doing for me now? I believe he's pitched pretty successful, Cole, against Tampa Bay, especially recently. When he figured out how to get G-Man Choi out. I think it's been pretty successul. I don't know too much about the Guardians, but I would definitely I don't really think he's perfect against them. I think he has some struggles with that Josh Naylor guy. I think hits him pretty well as well. And Jose Ramirez is also just a great hitter. But I think Garrett Cole gets the ball game one. It'll be his first real playoff start, in my opinion. I mean, you could say the Red Sox one was a real one too. I guess real home start then technically because they 2020 when he came here, that was all away, so they never got the home start. And then last year was the away start. So I'm excited to see what he is at home. I think if he doesn't let up the home runs, he probably pitches a really good game. But if he lets up the home run, that's where it's going to come back and bite him. Hopefully we have sharp defense behind him too. I mean.
IKF.
IKF and him must not like each other because IKF makes an error and then Garrett Cole lets up a home run. Pretty much, I mean, that's every time. So if there's an error by IKF in the game Tuesday night, just know the next pitch is probably going to be a home run.
Oh yeah.
But I definitely think Cole starts. Lineup wise, I think you could really go all over the place. I also think it depends who they play. I did see Boone saying that Judge would be the leadoff. He's leaning towards Judge leadoff, but he's not sure. He said it depends with guys like Benintendi and DJ coming back. I don't think DJ starts game one unless the foot keeps getting better in these next 4 days there. But I would say I would definitely go. I think you lead off Judge for now because I'm just going to assume that Benintendi and LeMahieu aren't ready yet. I mean, if they are, then I would love for one of them to lead off and Judge go in the 2-hole. But I think Judge leads off right now, and then I think you're going to go Rizzo at first. I think you'll go to Stanton in the 3. I think Glaber in the 3-hole because he's been one of our hottest hitters in September. Then I think they go Stanton 4-hole again, just because he's comfortable there. I wouldn't be surprised if they go in the 5-hole with Oswaldo Cabrera. I wouldn't be surprised with the left fielder. You need the switch hitter behind Stanton too, just really to help him out. And then that's also a good spot too to pinch hit if you needed to. You could definitely put in a Matt Carpenter there if they bring in a good righty and stuff like that.
Carp.
But I think he'll be on the bench. But anyway, after Oswaldo, and he'll be playing left field, I think Oswaldo will be. I think they'll go with Josh Donaldson will be in the 6-hole. I think the 7 will probably be honestly, I think the 7 will be Trevino right now. I think they'll go him in the 7th hole. And then the 8th and 9th is going to be really interesting to see. I think kind of depends who they play in center field, I think. I think if they play Bader in center field, then I think he'll be 8 and they'll try to do like an IKF mini leadoff at the 9 spot. But if they go a different way, I think IKF will bat 8 and then whoever's playing center field will bat 9. I don't think Hicks gets really any at-bats unless
0.
The only way I think Hicks gets at bats if there's a really tough right-hander on the mound and like lefties see a lot better than him, then I think that they could flip Bader and Hicks.
Yeah. Mine's is very different. I actually believe DJ could lead off only for the fact that it sounded like when Boone had his interview, he mentioned that he kind of was doing both for Judge leading off because of the home run record and because obviously Judge was good. And Michael K brought up a good point saying that, Judge could have had a little more RBIs if he wasn't leading off. So I think Boone definitely is going to take that consideration. I think DJ definitely gets to start over Josh because this past week he's gotten hits. He hasn't. I think at least from what I've seen when he came back, I haven't seen him have a 0 for whatever at bat. Like he's gotten hit.
Yeah, he's definitely gotten hits. To go with your point too about the RBIs, if you think about it, he tied Pete Alonso, who was batting 4th for the Mets. Pete Alonso batted 4th, and he had 131 RBIs. So you can only imagine what Judge would have done if there was guys in front of him.
Yeah.
But a thing too, just to point out too, I like if Benintendi were to be healthy, I would not be surprised if Oswaldo Cabrera gets some looks at third base and Benintendi plays the outfield. But go back to your lineup.
Interesting. No, yeah. At least I don't. I really don't expect Benny to play the first round. I think Carpenter, like you said, will be off the bench. That's kind of what Boone confirmed.
Yeah.
I want to say DJ is going to be at third, leading off. Judge is going to be second, obviously at right field.
Mm-hmm.
Third, I'd put Rizzo at first because they want the lefty.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stan would be your DH because if you've seen the last week, he's been kind of the Stan we know, which is October Stan, of course.
Of course.
And I mean, it is October. Now I wanted to put Torres right behind Stanton because he's been hot, and then Oswaldo Cabrera just to kind of split up. But I put Oswaldo first just to split it up, and then Torres. You could flip flop it; it's fine.
Yeah.
Now I did want to make a change. I definitely believe that I would put Jose in the 7th spot, and then like you said, IKF or Bader is 8 or 9. But I definitely would think that they might want to go the route of possibly, I don't know, because both of them are quick, and I seen that Bader is very good in hitting with runners in scoring position. Obviously, IKF is just a singles hitter, so either or you flip flop. Yeah, you might put Bader and then IKF, or IKF and Bader. Either or is fine. And my game 1 started, I would love for it to be Nestor. If you ask me, even before yesterday, I would have said they're probably gonna put Cole. Cole is getting paid $36 million. There's no other shot. But after Boone's interview yesterday, I think it could be Nestor. But at the same time, I do see why you would say Cole, because if you think about it, hypothetically, if we lose game 1, Nestor's there for game 2, and I think possibly game 5.
Yeah,
so he set up
Cole
great.
would go 1-4, and Nestor would go 2-5, which would be obviously better to have Nestor at least right now. Nestor pitched the 2 games. Obviously, a week can change anything. But right now you definitely want Nestor to pitch the 2 games. I also think it kind of depends on matchup. I think they have an idea, but I mean, I think if it's the Guardians, I would not be surprised if they start Nestor against the Guardians. The Guardians have some better left-handed bats compared to the right-handed sticks. But I think if they go with the Rays, I think Garrett Cole will start because most of his starts have been really dominant against the Rays. And then also like the Rays have the tricky part about the Rays is they might not score a lot, but they have very balanced lineups. If there's a righty on the mound, they could easily stack a bunch of lefties in there. If there's a lefty on the mound, they have enough righties. So I mean, definitely a tricky play. I think both teams are similar, pretty similar with their identities. Good pitching, not as much offense for the Rays and the Guardians. But I do think the Guardians can have a better shot at putting up more runs than the Tampa Bay does.
Speaking about whether Cole starts or Nestor start, it will all depend on who makes it out. So my following question would be, what are your predictions for the MLB bracket? Obviously, we can start off a wild card and then go from there.
Yeah. So I'll start with the first wild card game. We got Tampa Bay and Cleveland. Just a little rundown. I think Tampa Bay, I think they're both great teams, good pitching staffs on both teams. So I don't expect really a lot of scoring in these 2 games. I'm gonna give a little bit more of an edge to the Guardians right now. I believe the last time I looked, like the Rays were like 8 wins and 17 losses in their last, whatever stretch 25 games that is. So I know the Rays have been a little struggling. I don't think the Rays offensively are as good, but if something for the Rays clicks offensively, they become easily probably one of the most dangerous teams in the playoffs. But I'll go with the Guardians. I think right now McClanahan's their ace for the Rays is not pitching that well. Bieber, has a little bit more playoff experience and stuff like that. So I'll go with the Rays, the Guardians this game. Seattle Blue Jays. I'm really excited to watch this whole series.
I think is the best series of the entire wild card.
They're very 2 completely different teams. Toronto is obviously way more offensive driven, and the Seattle has way better pitching. And as we know, in the playoffs, pitching beats hitting. I mean, as the Yankees, they've probably had the better lineup than almost every single team they've played in the last 5 years, and they have lost all 5 years. So obviously pitching's key. So I don't see Toronto getting out of that unless Manoah and Gausman pitch 2 absolute gems. And then they could somehow hit Castillo, Ray, Gilbert. So I'd have to give, if it goes to 2, I could see the Blue Jays they would only win in 2 games. They'd win today and win tomorrow, and that would be it. If the Blue Jays, that's their path to win. Seattle can win it in 3 games because they have 3 dominant starters. If Jose Barreros has to pitch that game, the 3rd game, it's done for them. But I'll give the Mariners the edge on that one just based off of pitching. And then I guess we'll flip to the NL right now. I like the Cardinals over the Phillies. I'm not really concerned. I think the Cardinals are the better team. I think the Phillies just got a little lucky with their schedule. Kind of got, they played the Astros they didn't play the real Astros at the end. So
Astros were trying to rest players.
The whole rest of that division had to play. The Mets had to play the Astros when they were hot. The Braves had to play the Astros when they were hot. So I don't think the Phillies are really going to put up too much. And then the one that I think we're all excited for is Padres Mets. I think that goes 3.
Mets.
I think that goes 3 for sure. I mean, obviously Max and Darvish tonight. The issue with the Mets is their offense. What's their offense going to do? If their offense shows up, they're good. They could win. They could really be
And
a
no
dangerous
Jacob
team.
DeGrom for the wild card too.
Yeah, I think the Mets are. I don't really like the Mets, the game plan right now. I think they're trying to look too much. They're trying to like skip this series and try to focus on the Dodgers when they really need to focus on this series because the Padres are a good team. I mean, they struggled at the trade deadline. Obviously they got Juan Soto. Juan Soto did not perform how Juan Soto typically performs, but I believe he was heating up towards the end. He's a hitter that can take any good pitcher. He could take, he could hit him. We saw, when he was just a 19-year-old, he hit Justin Verlander in a game 6 of the World Series, to take the lead or tie the game. So we know he's a really good hitter. Manny Machado had a great season too. And they just have a good team. They've come to New York too. They've played all of them have played here. Soto played here a lot with the Nationals. They're not going to be, concerned with the fans or the crowd or anything like that. They've played in big games out there in LA. But I think that series goes 3, and I'm really excited to see what that is. I know the Padres have one of the hottest starting pitching units right now in baseball. Snell and Darvish are a great 1-2 force, and then obviously throw in Joe Musgrove, who's another great pitcher. Yep. So I think it's just a great pitching matchup. I think if the Mets offense comes to play, they win the series easily, I think. But I don't think their offense is going to come to play without Starling Marte. It's like the Yankees without Giancarlo Stanton.
So your prediction is Padres?
It's tough, but I think if they go 3, I don't trust Jacob DeGrom right now, and that's a crazy statement to say. But I think a lot of Mets fans would agree with me right now that Jacob DeGrom is not a trustworthy starter. He's complaining about his blister issue. If Garrett Cole did that, he'd probably be crucified. I got Padres in 3.
So mine's, I 100% agree with you with the Guardians take. I definitely have the Guardians winning for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then another, by far to me, one of the best series of the wild card is going to be the Mariners and Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Pitching and offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think even before the season, you looked at it, you said the Blue Jays have one of the best offense. That lineup is ridiculous. But I definitely think the pitching will outweigh them with obviously Castillo. That was a huge acquire. So I could see the Mariners advancing. I definitely think that the Cardinals are going to beat the Phillies. I don't see the Phillies having a shot. Now the Mets and Padres, man.
That's where we might disagree.
This is it's tough. I definitely say it depends on 2 things. If Juan Soto, because as we've seen when the Padres got Juan Soto, it wasn't the Juan Soto that we know. And even before that, him on the Nationals this season was, I know he had one of the highest OPS still, but his average is pretty low. He's not the Juan Soto we know, but if he wakes up, Padres are winning that series and Mets have no chance. But I don't know if he is going to wake up for this series because, yes, the Mets, like you said, their offense, I 100% agree with you on that with the offense. But like you said, pitching. And I think Scherzer has had so much experience, obviously, prior to the Mets. So I think he's definitely going to step up. The ones behind him, I'm not sure if they will. But I don't know. I just, New York feeling. I feel that if you had Tatis and if you had Soto playing at least to the first half, Mets have no chance. But I don't know. I got to go with the Mets on this. It's a tough choice. But
I mean, I was just curious, like looking up his stats. Juan Soto in his last 7 games is hitting 192.
Yeah, he's
That's
struggling.
Really bad. Now the last 15 was 309, so he was heating up a little bit. But towards that end of the season, he kind of went back down on that. But I mean, it's the playoffs. The stats don't matter now. It's going to be very interesting to see. He's a good young player, professional hitter, won a World Series. He knows what to do. But definitely excited for that series. I think the most.
Definitely. Now, since we both agree on Cleveland and Yankees, I'm assuming Seattle and Houston, Cardinals and Braves, and then obviously the Dodgers, whoever they face. We don't have the same team, but I think that it doesn't matter if the Mets or Padres make it. They're not beating the Dodgers.
And I think if the Mets. I think the Mets really got hurt by not winning the division. I think if they were able to rest and have their complete starters to go, I think, if they were playing in that upper part of the bracket, I think they definitely could handle those teams. The Cardinals and Mets would have been a great series, in my opinion. Would have been a lot of Mets fans, 2006, that would have been nice revenge for them. I definitely think it's tough now because, if the Mets even go 3 games, you just lost. For at least Tuesday, you lost Scherzer, Bassett, and DeGrom. For you're starting, Carlos Carrasco versus the Dodgers, and that's not really what you want to do. I know the Mets fans were all happy when they won here, when they beat the Dodgers here at Citi Field. But that Dodgers team was struggling a little bit coming into that series, and then obviously the Dodgers took off after that, and the Mets, I think after that series they got swept by the Cubs or whatever. So
I remember that.
yeah, I definitely don't think whoever wins that series goes on and beats the Dodgers. Now, I honestly think the Dodgers could get upset though in the NLCS. I really do.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
kinda
think,
could
especially
see.
if it's the Braves, I don't think the Braves are afraid of the Dodgers. They proved last year we took care of you. And then you had to go get our best player in order to try to beat us.
And they did not have Ronald Acuna last year. Now they
Exactly.
do.
So
That is
I mean,
huge.
the Braves are just as good as the Dodgers, in my personal opinion. It's just not the money. You're used to the big payrolls, but I mean, they have all the pieces the Dodgers have. The Braves have too. I think the only downfall the Braves have would be their closer. But I mean, that's not like the Dodgers right now have a great closer either. They had to take Kimbrel out of that role because he was really, really bad. So I think, it'll be interesting to see if both teams are in close games in the ninth inning. It'll be interesting to see what they do for their bullpen.
And what about the Yankees, Guardians, Houston, and Mariners?
I think Yankees, Guardians. I think it would at least go 4 games. 4 out of the 5 for sure for the Yankees. I can't really see the Guardians winning in New York, but I could definitely see them winning a home game out there. I think obviously best case scenario for the Yankees is Guardians Rays go 3 games and they have whoever wins then
Tires
has to
them
come
out.
tires them out have to come
Yep.
in with their last starter, or even do a bullpen game. But I'll take the Yankees in that one. I think they'll win at 4. I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep. I don't think the Yankees will. I think if the Yankees lose, it's in 5 games. I think if they lose the series, it'll be in 5. I think if they win it could be 3 or 4. I think. Look, the Seattle just, they didn't really beat the Astros that much in the regular season this year. That's 2 division teams going at it.
Yep.
The Astros probably have one of the deepest, if not the deepest starting rotation right now in baseball. So I think they'll take care of everybody likes Seattle. Everybody wants to see Seattle win, but
J-Rod.
yeah, I don't think they really stand too much of a shot versus the Astros. But I love them to win, sure. But I definitely think the Astros take care of that. I think we see all rematches in the championship series. I think we see Braves, Dodgers, and I think we see Yankees, Astros.
I agree with those picks. I definitely have the Braves facing the Dodgers. Of course, I'm sorry to the Cardinals fans and Mets fans. I definitely see the Dodgers going against the Braves, and then Yankees and Houston.
Yeah,
I think at least with those being your final 4 picks, it has to happen. And I would love the Mariners to beat Houston because I kind of don't want to play Houston, but I know that I don't see Houston losing to whether it's the Blue Jays or the Mariners. They're going to be in the championship series. And I think the Yankees, same thing. They're going to be in the championship series.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Dodgers facing the Braves. But this is where it gets interesting. World Series predictions. Who are the final 2 teams standing?
And let me say before this too, I love the Cardinals. I would love for the Cardinals to come out there and upset the Braves and go pretty far, personally. But I just don't know if they have the gunpowder to kind of beat the Braves out there. But World Series predictions. I'm gonna be a realistic Yankees fan. Unless we get all of our guys back and healthy, including Andrew Benintendi will be the key for that series if he could come back healthy. Because if we don't have him, we don't have the bats that win postseason games. So if we don't have Andrew Benintendi, the Yankees will lose to the Astros, probably in 6 or 7. Just because the pitching for the Astros is really good. And they kind of dominated us this year. We went on, obviously, we went on some walk-offs, but a win's a win. They won on walk-offs too when we have to go out there, so it really doesn't matter. But I think the Astros would beat the Yankees if the Yankees are not, where they're supposed to be. And I think I really do think the Braves upset the Dodgers. I don't think it's very rare, especially in baseball, that the best team ends up winning it.
Agreed.
I don't think the last couple of years we've really seen that. The number 1 seeds. The Astros have come out of the American League. They've dominated the American League. But I think in the National League, there's been way too many upsets with the Dodgers and teams that were number 1, which really has been the Dodgers over the last. Even last year too, the Giants were the number 1 seed. Dodgers took care of them. So I think the Braves come out there and win. I think we get a rematch, and I think the Braves repeat as champions.
My prediction, I'll give you 2 predictions. I'll give you a realistic one and my obviously Yankee fan one. I definitely believe that Houston might win that series, but I say as my Yankee prediction, the one way for them to win, of course, you really need Stanton to be October Stanton. You need Judge to be consistent like he's been all year. You need Torres to be as hot as he was, because you look at 2019,
Yeah.
Torres was our best player in 2019 of the playoffs. So if you get them clicking, of course, DJ is the regular DJ with Benintendi, and then you find some at bat with Carpenter.
Yeah.
Houston has no shot against us if those guys are right. But it's very hard to get multiple players on the same type of hitting streak, especially coming the playoffs. So that series is very interesting.
To jump on your thought too, there's a couple of key factors too with that Yankees Astros series if it happens. That left field in Houston is short. So if not Benintendi, if he's playing, that's good. But we could potentially find ways to get either Stanton or Carpenter out there to the outfield to get an extra bat in the lineup so we could DH somebody else. So I would not be surprised to see something like that happen too if we play Houston.
Yeah. And then with the Braves and Dodgers, I do understand your point, which I think is an amazing point with the Braves, especially, again, last year they didn't have Ron Acuna. This year they do. My pick, I have to say the Dodgers, not because of their record, but you look at Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, you can't go wrong picking them.
Freddie Freeman's average is pretty high up, especially with Trey Turner, and then you got players like Mookie Betts. That team is like loaded. So yes, I would not be shocked if the Braves win. I'm not gonna say I didn't see this coming, but like a series I would see. Oh, I didn't see this coming. Is if Philly beats the Cardinals? I didn't see that coming. Or if the Padres win, I don't want to say I didn't see that coming because you need Juan Soto to produce.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it coming. Also, could be Tampa beating Cleveland for me. I don't know. I just see the Guardians winning, but I definitely could see the Braves upsetting. But I got the Dodgers and Yankees, or Dodgers and Houston, depending on what happens. But either way, hypothetically, if the Dodgers are in the World Series against Houston, I don't know. That's a tough pick. I want to kind of lean towards a little bit Houston just because of again, Verlander being there, and then you see Altuve hitting.
For me, if it's Dodgers Astros, I have to go with the Dodgers because they just want that revenge. There's something about a team that just is. I mean, I'm sure the Dodgers, they'll never say this, but they're hoping the Astros come out of the AL,
of course,
and because they want to beat them, they definitely want that revenge. There's enough guys still on that team that were there in 2017. That remember what that was like. So I definitely think they want the Astros, and I think they could beat. I think anyway. I think this is probably one of the best playoff brackets for baseball we've seen in a while.
Amazing.
I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest. I could see the lowest seed Tampa Bay winning the whole thing. They get hot at the right time. Their offense clicks. They could win. They could win the whole thing. I think the only team that I can't see winning it all would be the Phillies. That would have to take some miracle for that to happen. But I realistically think, out of the 12 teams out in the playoffs, 11 of them, 10 of them could go on to win the World Series.
No, yeah, and I definitely see your point. I think that you kind of might have changed my mind and pick with the Dodgers and Astros because the revenge part, and then again you still look at people like Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, great lineup. But if the Yankees play the Dodgers, I just feel that again it is a little biased, but if those specific players I listed in the past series are hot, Torres, Stanton.
If we get
Carpenter.
through the Astros, I fully believe it doesn't matter who we face, they'll win because that means they've come together as a team. The Yankees, that means, and they've finally gotten past the part that they need that they can't get past. It's like playing a video game. The Astros are the hardest level, and you just can't beat them.
They've lost to them 2017, 2019, and now obviously the Red Sox the other 2 years. But I'm excited for today. Baseball, obviously, it should be starting at 12. I'm really happy for this year. But
love the new format.
I love it too. It definitely is better.
Good to get more teams in there. Yep, 3 games, get more teams. Baseball is the most unpredictable sport. Every prediction we just said right here could be completely wrong in 12 hours.
1,000%. No, I agree.
In 12 hours, everything we said could be completely turned on a flip. So I think baseball is probably the hardest sport to predict because the littlest things can happen. You hit a ball down the line, it goes an inch foul, an inch fair, and that's the series, that's the game, that decides everything.
That's what you love about baseball. But for this whole playoffs, who is your X factor for them to not only go to the World Series but win the World Series? Is you have to pick one player.
One player from all the teams, or just one
from
player?
The Yankees.
From the Yankees. Okay, good. So from the Yankees, the X factor, it has to be. I mean, it's obvious, but it has to be Giancarlo Stanton. That's the Yankees X factor. If he plays how he did it, if he swings the bat how he did in 2020, there's not a lot of teams that are going to stop them because Judge is going to produce. That's Judge and him both producing, and then you just got to find the guys to play the part. Fill in, get on base so they could drive these guys in. So for me, I'll do offense and I'll do pitching and hitting too.
I was going to say
so
that.
I'll do Stanton as my offensive X factor because if he's hot, that just makes the lineup 10 times better. That means you could bat Judge and him back to back or separate them, but still they have to pitch to one. Pitching wise, I want to give two answers. For starting pitching, it's Garrett Cole. If Garrett Cole is good, and I mean good, it's going to be tough for teams to beat the Yankees. Bullpen though, that's probably the bigger X factors because you don't even know who your closer is right now. You
At
don't know who
all.
your
Closer
eighth
by
man is right now.
commission.
You don't know who your seventh man is right now. You have no idea what you're doing, which could be good or could be bad. Most cases it's bad, but in this case it could be good as the other team doesn't know what to prepare for. Who are you gonna? Back in the day, you used to say Miller, Betances, Chapman. Betances, Chapman, and then you'd have Robertson too, and like the 1 year Robertson, Betances, Chapman.
knew.
You had the guys Britton, Chapman. You had the two that you knew you were going to. You don't know now. Scott Efros could close a game. Loaisiga could close a game. Wandy Peralta, if you come in lefties, he could close a game. I mean, if Ron Marinaccio comes back and the Yankees make it to the ALCS, he could, they might throw him into the fire, rookie. I mean, so definitely a lot. I can't wait to see when I don't know when they have to finalize the rosters, but I'm so excited to see what happens.
If I had to get a prediction, I would say maybe Monday they might do the rosters. Cause I think they want to wait to see who they obviously play.
Yeah.
But I want to say my X factor, at least for pitching, is Cole. If you have Cole, I have a lot of faith on Nestor and Severino. So I have trust in them. Cole, I don't have trust in, but if he's on, the Yankees go very far. Offensively, I do want to say I agree with Stan because I've seen stats where if Stan and Judge, obviously homers or play well, they win almost majority of the game. So Stan definitely has to be.
I think they just lost. I believe they were like 20 something and one when Stanton and Judge, and they just lost one the other day because it was both solo shots and they lost to the Rangers. But
no, and I think I didn't have this here, but I'm gonna ask you on the spot. If we don't make it to the World Series or lose in the World Series, what is the reason you think we would lose? I have to say, for me, you could throw a lot of things. Maybe the Yankees don't hit. Maybe Cole does bad. My prediction, if somehow we don't win at all, is due to the bullpen. I think because we don't know who the closer is or what your lineup is, that's definitely going to play a factor.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you on that, but just because for the sake of the podcast too, I'll try to come up with my own. I think if we don't go to the World Series, I think it'll be blamed on a couple of guys. I think it'll be blamed on Josh Donaldson. I think Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, whoever's catching, and then also whoever's playing center field, depending on who it is. I think those are four spots that could, if they're playing well, could really help a team. But you only have 9 batters, and if those 4 of them are not producing, then you're playing with a 5-man lineup. And my dad likes to say a lot, the Yankees typically do things to the max. They typically have a lineup 1 through 9, and the Mets typically have a lineup that's 1 through 5. And that's the difference why neither team, the two teams don't have the same championships and, the same wins. But recently the Yankees have been doing similar to what the Mets have, where it's just a lineup of 1 through 5, and you don't know what you're getting at the bottom. So definitely think offense will be an issue because just too many guys are too many question marks for them if they don't win it.
That was a great point. I won't agree on the center field or catch. I feel that they should do a pretty good job, whether it's hitting or playing defense. I don't see them being 300 hitters, but they'll do the job like 250.
Oh yeah, I wasn't saying defensively. I think those two are great defensive positions. Even if Hicks is playing out there, he's still not a bad fielder.
I think.
But I just offensively between, Trevino has it. I know Higgy's gotten hot right now, but what is Higgy? Higgy got hot against teams that weren't good. What is it like? Is he really going to smack Verlander around? And Trevino is really struggling. Trevino was the one to hit some good pitching, but now he's been really struggling recently. So I think, you could really, I'm not blaming those. That's necessarily catcher and center field. They're not blaming them. I think it would be more on Donaldson and IKF not producing. But, that it doesn't help that those two positions aren't as – I mean, if you look at those dynasty Yankee teams, Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada. If you look at the 2009 team, you had Johnny Damon out there, too, in center field. Melky Cabrera was producing out there in center field. And then you had Jorge Posada. You still had two – so, the middle of the diamond, that's the most important. The middle of the middle. Catcher, shortstop, center field. Those are some of the most important positions.
I definitely would say if I had to blame an offensive player, not for hitting wise, but defensive wise, I have to say Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
Yeah.
I am very scared. I know Peraza's been playing great and I've been wanting him, but I don't see him starting because he's so young and doesn't have too many at bats. But I definitely am scared that if we lose a game, either the bullpen, because we don't know who's going to come out there, is going to play terrible, or Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is going to make a very important error. And we will say, we've been saying this all year, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and that's going to be one of the downfalls. But final question. What are your AL, NL awards, such as MVP and Cy Young? Who are your picks?
Okay. AL MVP has to be Judge.
Confirmed. No more Shohei.
No
We're
more
not hearing
Shohei.
Shohei.
I love Shohei, but it's just it's just not what Judge did this year. I know Shohei's doing things that haven't been seen either, but this also hasn't been seen in like 60 something years, and not even
most home runs, almost
yeah.
triple crown.
So I think Judge wins AL MVP. Now I would like to see Shohei win the Cy Young. I know Verlander has the ERA, but I think what Shohei did as a total between innings, strikeouts, also a 2-something ERA, I think he deserves it. Now I'm not going to be surprised if they give it to Verlander, but Verlander didn't have the innings. He doesn't have the strikeouts that a lot of these guys have. NL still has to go to Goldschmidt. I think he was just overall the most productive hitter. And then now this is very interesting with the NL Cy Young because I think Sandy Alcantara should win it.
I've heard a lot about him winning it.
But I mean, me and Jason were looking at this the other day. When you really look at Jose Urias from the Dodgers, he quietly put together a phenomenal season out there. I know he's just on the Dodgers, so everything kind of got overlooked. But he really did put a phenomenal. His ERA was really low. He had a lot of strikeouts, pitched a lot of innings. They get a lot of wins too. But I think just what Sandy did with the Marlins. I mean, the fact that he had 14 wins with the Marlins just shows enough that it's the Marlins.
No,
they don't score enough. So I think Sandy wins the NL.
Of course, I agree. I think everyone in the world should agree that Judge is the AL MVP. If you think differently, then I don't know what's wrong with you. I want to say Cy Young. I think they're going to give it to Verlander. He's had a great year ERA wise and leading obviously Houston to where they're at. I think they might do the same factor of the Angels didn't go far, even though yes, pitching you can't really blame the Angels on that, but or Shohei on that, but they're probably going to give it to Verlander. And now it's funny. I've seen a lot of recent people pick Manny Machado as your MVP, and I was looking at the stats this morning. Paul Goldschmidt, of course, led them to a better record, has more home runs, better average, and more RBIs than him. So I don't know where the Machado MVP
Machado
came
probably
from.
Comes a little bit during the midpoint of the season. He was having an MVP.
I'm talking about this week. I've been seeing predictions like that. I don't know how that's a prediction. And then Cy Young, I've seen a lot of people say Sandy. And I was, looking at the stats. I did see Julio from the Dodgers, Arias, that he had more wins, a lower ERA, might have been by a little bit. And I didn't look much at strikeouts, it's more the wins and the ERAs. And obviously the Dodgers best record in MLB. So I think he might win Cy Young. And I'm curious when those are coming out. I'm not sure.
To be during like the playoff series, they'll be coming out and stuff like that. So we'll find out pretty soon, who won what. And stuff
you think
like
by
that.
this week, next week?
I don't know how early it is. I just know typically it was during the playoffs. Typically, I think more towards like the end, closer to like the World Series and stuff like that. But we'll definitely be able to find out.
Got you. Well, this is the end to wrap it up. I hope for next week that when we come back, the Yankees are
talking about a couple of Yankee wins, man.
Yeah, hopefully they're at least up 2-0 in their series, or I'm not sure how the schedule is. Probably be the same next week for sure, at least for the postseason, and then we will move on to basketball once basketball season comes on. Thank you, Matt, for being on the show.
Thank you,
and we will see you guys next week. See you.